Rolling key. All right, this is going to be probably my second video uploaded. I'm not sure. So just reiterating, I'm Damien. I'm a struggling actor currently, and so I spend my time, especially since COVID happened, uneducatedly critiquing movies. It's become a hobby for me. I think that I've got enough knowledge to merit a lot of it, and so I thought that being that my ego is large enough, I would share it with people that care enough to watch. So, on this channel, I'm going to be reviewing everything from movies to mainstream television to documentaries, which I'm just getting into, and docu-series, documentaries, all that kind of stuff. Foreign films, everything that I can see that I feel I can learn something from as an actor and as somebody in the industry, and I'd love to just share that with you all, or if nobody watches it, I'd love to just put it somewhere where I don't have to take up space on my phone and I can watch it back later. So how we're going to do this is I'm just going to get right into whatever movie or episode of television that I'm reviewing, which today will be something that I watched last night, which is a foreign film called The Hand of God. So there are a lot of good performances in this one. But actually, let me get into the general summary before I say anything else. So, general plot is in the 1980s Naples, young Fabietto pursues his love for football as family tragedy strikes, shaping his uncertain but promising future as a filmmaker. That, when I read that, I mean, I had seen this movie on Netflix for a little while, and I had read that, and was kind of put off by how general it was. I was like, I don't really know. I hadn't heard much about it, and then I follow a lot with like awards predictions and everything else, and when I saw there was kind of a player for that, I saw that the title had come up, and I was like, well, why not watch it? And I'm very glad that I did now, because it ended up being a real sleeper, and what it really did was awaken that I am a huge fan of Italian films, Italian filmmaking. I haven't seen much, but everything I have seen, I haven't just liked, but I've loved. And just the layout of all their films seem to kind of have a similar way about them, where they just simply start light and get a bit darker and a bit more relaxed in their tone and as they go on, which I just find super appealing as just a general layout for films out there. I'm not sure if that's just something I was picking up on. Maybe it's just the few films that I've watched. I don't know, but I've really enjoyed that. So I would hope and do hope to watch more as time goes forward. So first thing I'm going to cover is just the general review of the movie overall for myself. Something that really stuck out for me was obviously the performances. I think that those were great, but we will get into that in a second. The simple yet appealing plot I loved, which is just kind of this slice of life for this family in Naples, and it's kind of taking you through like a very kind of normal point in their life where it was almost like they were at kind of like a poetic bliss, where it was like life wasn't perfect, but they kind of find the silver lining in everything that's going on, and they have a very positive spin on everything, and especially this group of it's a mother and a father and their two sons. They might have more. They kind of later on go into like maybe they have more, but what we see is two sons. They have a daughter who doesn't leave the bathroom, which I think is very funny. But the story really it focuses in on the one son who goes by Fabi for most of it, and the chemistry of the actors is terrific, but just the story makes it very easy to kind of intertwine everything, and you get very attached to them very quickly, and they don't give you too much. It's kind of just showing you what it's like to live in these people's shoes and the simple things that give them joy. They take you a long time. The whole movie is kind of a backdrop is Diego Maradona it's right before he signed with the Naples Football Club. And so I'm not sure if that's the proper way of saying that. If I butchered it, I'm so sorry to soccer fans. But it's right before he got bought out by them, and so they're like covering that and how it's like they at one point even just like the father has like an affair on like with another woman, and him and the mother are in the middle of an argument, and the kids are really uncomfortable, and then he gets a phone call, and the mother storms in, and she's like, who is it? Is it this woman? And he really dramatically puts down the phone and like sits in silence for a whole like minute, and then he says with like this tone that almost seems more serious than the affair going on that Naples just bought out Diego Maradona, and they start to like sell, and it's like they drop everything. And obviously there's some like, it's just kind of showing the magnitude of something like that and what it meant to not just this family but their whole community. Like they would sit on their porches and watch these games almost like they had a stadium of themselves just in that neighborhood. But I don't want to go too in depth. Again, I think the simplicity of the plot and everything that happens. Spoilers just for what I'm about to say. I think the fact that it kind of has a very I'm sorry for you. My girlfriend's sitting here as well, and I'm about to spoil it for you. About halfway through the movie, when the parents die, I think that's a coin flip that you can almost sense is coming, but the way they do it is also just so subtle that it fits with the tone. Where it's like they don't make this huge deal, they don't make it this big thing. It's just like this happens. How is he going to deal with it? How's he going to go forward? And it's so human, which is what I love. It's so human how they deal with everything. It's so relatable that even as a person in America watching people in Italy in the 1980s, it's like everything about that movie is different, but everything about it is somewhat relatable. I think that is giving credit to the writing and the directing, which is something that I'm about to get into. Is the directing and cinematography is so good. The directing is so impactful and so the word is escaping me, but it's just, it does exactly what you want to do. It's so simplistic, it fits with the plot, but it's so beautiful. The shots are like these like very like, again, I've gone to school for this, so I should have a bigger word, but it's fresh in my mind, and it's very, very like, I just wanted to get this out before I forgot how I actually felt about it. But I think the directing is something that I'm not hearing being talked about enough about this film. I think that for me, it's one of, if not the best directing outing that I've seen this season, and I've seen a lot of movies this season. But just, again, I'm somewhat new to the more educated side of film, so that's not necessarily saying much, but just in my opinion, it was something that immediately drew my eye. And I was watching my girlfriend at the time, and we both kind of went, wow, they're like directing, the cinematography, and even the costuming, which is all, again, fitting with the plot of like keeping it simple and keeping it real in this world. But it immediately drew you in and brought you into that world and made you feel like you were there and you were experiencing the beauty of where they were, the way that they saw it. I think that's what the directing really did, is like it took these simple and almost ugly parts of Italy and made them beautiful by just adding certain colors and the shots, the way you saw them, the way the camera would move, the way they would catch how the characters were looking at certain simple things. It made you feel like you were almost living in their bodies and seeing the beauty in it and why they loved the simplicities of the life that they were living as well, and the parts of it that got sucked out once their parents passed away, or specifically Fabi, once his parents passed away, how he was seeing things and how the color was drained out of things and how the magic of life was lost and he didn't really know how to go on. It's like the directing really reflected that in a way that I thought was super impactful and really kind of turned the movie from something that you could have been like, I've seen this before, into something that you're like, I've never seen anything like this, and how have I never seen anything like this? Again, I was really just blown away by that, and I think that was just super encapsulating the directing and cinematography alone. Now that's going into performance reviews. What I have written here is I have an amazingly understated yet amazingly understated / human performances by the entire cast. I'm not going to name them all by name because as much as I appreciate them, I really encourage you to go look them up and look up the other projects that they've worked on. I'm definitely myself going to look into other projects that these actors have worked on. But I'm not very good with, I'm not going to butcher their names because I don't want to disrespect them in that way. I really, really, really encourage you to go look them up. Go watch this film, first of all, and then if you love it anywhere near as much as I did, please go look them up. Please look into their works. But I don't want to butcher their names. But I think the cast as a whole was just family, especially this family. The son and the two parents specifically were just, you didn't want to stop watching them, and they made such an impact in every little shot. I mean, the mother, you think about it at the end, and like the mother's only really in the first half of the movie, and she's not in every shot and everything, but she makes you feel like she's your mom, and it's like you forget again, and what you want to do, you forget that she's acting, and it's like you immediately believe that you're like, this was just a camera set up in this mother's house, because she really just fits that glove of like the at-home mother who was just so present for her children, and the conversations they have, and the way she looks at her kids, and the way she talks, and every little movement, every part of her is like, I bought it. And super understated. And I think going on understated, the son, Fabi, is just, he doesn't have to do much for you to just kind of want to keep watching him. He's got a very interesting look. He's got a very down, I don't even know what the word I want to use is, but he just very much, he's got a low energy way about him that just almost makes you want more, but in a great way where you're like, it's very, again, human, where you would understand immediately who this kid is and what he's going through and what he's feeling through very little. And it's like, I think there's only one scene where you really see him freak out, and then you don't see it again. It's like halfway through the movie, right after the parents die, he has this like one freak out that, you know, everybody would have, where it's kind of just, he doesn't know what to do, and he just yells and starts throwing things. And from that point on, he's right back to kind of like very within. He's very inward with everything, which I love. And you see his struggle of trying to be more out with that, and he wants to become a filmmaker, but you don't really know that he's trying to be a filmmaker until like after the parents are long gone and everything, and you kind of draw your own conclusions as to like what made him want to do this. And I think for me, what I drew is like, going off the directing, it's like you've been seeing the whole time the beauty that they're seeing in this, and I think he wants to encapsulate that beauty for other people because he's starting to lose it, and maybe that's how he's going to regain it, or maybe he can, you know, put it almost in a capsule and be like, well, if I lose it, I can always go back if it's film and everything. And the way he talks when he goes talking to one filmmaker later in the movie is just, I don't know, everything, a lot of things about this movie were breathtaking for me. And I think that performance-wise, that the father was very understated. He wasn't in much. He had this infectious laugh where it was like they would say these very like kind of mundane lines, and he'd have this like very jovial laugh about him, where like, and then the sun was up, and everybody kind of would feed off of his kind of upbeat energy, and it gave him such a like lighthearted way about him. It's like when you find out that that's had an affair, it's almost like you don't hate him for it. You almost don't believe it, because you're like, this guy, like, he's so cool and he's so great and he's such a good father, and it's like he's almost too perfect to have done that. And I think that's what they want you to feel. And it just keeps you in the reality of like, no matter what happens, you're sticking with this family, and it makes it all the more heartbreaking when the parents die, because it's like, no matter what was going on, no matter what wrongs they did, it was like you were rooting for them, and you're rooting for this family to just not even succeed, because they were fine the way they were, but just to keep going, just to keep living life the way they were, and just keep existing. And that's exactly what you feel, is because they can't, and the way they go is so sad. And again, I just think that the directing was fantastic, but the performances, I think this was super well cast. I'm really starting to love watching performances of actors that I don't know, and just going in and being like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know this actor style, I don't know this director style. And it's like with foreign films, that's something I'm super, again, it sounds stupid, but I'm foreign with. And so, or very foreign to me, English. And so going into this, it was like not knowing what to expect almost made it that much more, or made me that much more blown away when I got to the end. So overall, tying it all together, I'm going to grade my movies always when I tell you I'm going to give them the grade that I gave them on Letterboxd. I do have a Letterboxd. And the grade that I'm going to give this one, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was very, very good. It was unfortunately, just the second foreign film I've gotten the chance to watch this year, because I didn't get to many when they were in theaters, and so now I'm trying to find different ways to watch them. I do plan on watching as many as I can before this award season is over. But man, this one it's up there for just one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's absolutely incredible, and I highly, highly suggest, because I know that basically everybody has Netflix now, please, please, please go and watch it. It should be at the top of everyone's list. It's not one of the most highly recommended movies on Netflix, so you're going to probably have to search it. But please, God, The Hand of God, please go watch it. I'll also tell you my favorite part, I have to say, was, as much as I love the performances, the directing really stuck out to me. The directing was probably the thing that really surprised me the most about this. From the first shot to the last shot, it was something that almost was stealing the show from the performances that were going on, and that was hard to do because the performances were so great. But yeah, so that is The Hand of God. It is an Italian film on Netflix. Again, I'm not going to be stating names and everything. I will put them down below in the description, but I'm not going to butcher the names right now. You can hate me all you want for it. Final grade was a 4 out of 5 stars. My favorite part was the directing.